Hello everyone and welcome to another random video on the internet. Today we're returning to an old series of mine, What If Kushina Survived the Nine-Tails Attack? But before we get into the story itself, I want to address a few things. I want to apologize that it took so long for me to get back into this series, but I think it's pretty important to know why it took so long. I want to make it clear that I enjoyed working on this story very much back in the day, and I still have fun coming up with new ideas for it and thinking of character interactions. In fact, this part right here, in my opinion, has some of the best writing I've ever done. But that being said, what if videos take a lot of time and effort. Much more than power scaling videos. On a good day when I'm feeling energetic and have a lot of free time, I can legit write, record, edit and post a 10-minute power scaling video in a single day. Obviously I don't always have free days and longer videos take a lot longer to produce, but the gist of it is that power scaling videos do take effort, but they don't take nearly as much time. With What Ifs, however, it takes a ton of time. Thinking of ideas for the story, actually writing the story, thinking of how to depict the events I describe visually on screen, finding all the right renders and clips and panels to illustrate whatever action I'm having the characters do. It takes a lot of time and energy. And the Kushina series, while fun to work on, has not been successful on my channel. There's just not really enough interest. For comparison, the latest parts of What If Kushina Survived got less than 1,000 views. They are legit the worst performing videos on my channel over the last year or two, with my recent videos getting several times, sometimes even tens of times more attention. And those recent videos took a lot less time and effort out of me than the Kushina videos. I, of course, have grown a lot since I posted those What If Kushina Survived videos, so my recent stuff is getting more attention. But even compared to my other stuff back then, the Kushina videos just are not doing well. I also recently posted a compilation of the series and it barely got over 1,000 views at all. Now, 1,000 people is a lot, and I appreciate you guys who are interested in the series. I'd love to do more of it. But the thing is, these What If videos take a ton of time and I have real life stuff going on almost always, so it's hard to find the time to fit in these extremely time-consuming videos. And when they do 5 to 10 times worse than all my other work, it's kind of disheartening. I just can't dedicate the time and energy to the series, basically. That being said though, I do still want to work on this story because it's genuinely fun and it's different from the stuff I usually do these days. It's a breath of fresh air. So I'm going with sort of a compromise. In this video, the plan was to basically describe what part 11 of the series would have been like, what happens, what events unfold, and so on. There wouldn't have been any dialogue and there wouldn't have been any action scenes, and the video would have been edited pretty lightly. But as I was writing it, I ended up describing a lot of action anyway once I got past the initial setup for all the events that take place. So instead, this is going to be a fully audio-orientated experience. There will be descriptions and narration and music, but there won't be dialogue or visuals on screen. I apologize, I know this isn't a proper continuation, but this is the best I could come up with and not leave you guys completely on ice. So again, sorry for this, but this is just how things worked out. Without any further ado, let's get started. We open up with Kakashi, Guy, and Itachi training with Kushina. Guy is training her in some basic taijutsu while the two Sharingan users use their visual prowess to gauge both of their strengths and weaknesses and give tips to them on how to improve. Then Itachi and Kakashi go on to train Kushina with some basic elemental jutsu as well. The Hokage is very strong, very fast, is extremely proficient with seals, and her chains are very powerful. But due to the fact that she hasn't really been an active ninja in over a decade, her basic skills have dulled significantly. So she's working to get them back. That's when a messenger ninja comes bearing some good and some not so good news. The good news is that Jiraiya, Darui, and Fugaku have made it back home alive. The bad news is that they're all in terrible shape. Kushina and the others rush to the hospital where the recon group has been taken, and there, Jiraiya and the others explain everything they saw in the Rain Village to Kushina. About the Rinnegan wielders, Kakuzu, the fact that Hanzo is gone, and so on. It's clear that their suspicions were right, and the Rain Village really is the Akatsuki's base of operations. Jiraiya also explains that he's sure Nagato is connected to all this, and that Pain has to be Nagato based off of his behaviors and abilities. Remember, Jiraiya doesn't know the paths of Pain are Pain. He never heard any of them introduce themselves as Pain. He just thinks they're Akatsuki members who maybe somehow got power from Nagato in some way. But all this is important because if Nagato is anything like he was back when he was a child, he will not flee and he will not leave his village in the hands of the 5 great nations. He'll stand his ground and fight for his people, even if it kills him. Meaning that this is the perfect time for the allies to strike. They know where the Akatsuki is operating from, and they know some of their basic powers and abilities. Kushina nods and organizes a 5 Kage summit as soon as possible. Herself, Jiraiya, and Darui convince the other Kage that they have to make a move now, and they all agree to organize a joint unit to surround the Rain Village and crush the Akatsuki before they can cause any more havoc. The Kage of each village select several top-tier shinobi and Anbu to go to the Rain with them. In particular, the assault team consists of Kushina, Jiraiya, Fugaku, Gai, Kakashi, Itachi, A, B, C, Darui, Yugito, Inoki and his aides, Yagura and his aides, Obito in disguise, Granny Chiyo, and a squad of elite Anbu members from each of the villages. Overall, this is a formidable unit. The Raikage initially doesn't want Yugito and B to go, but they prove themselves to him in battle, so he allows them to accompany him. The team splits into several units, which all approach the Rain from different directions. When the Leafs team gets close to Omegakure, they start using Itachi, Fugaku, and Kakashi's Sharingan perception abilities to watch out for any attacks or traps. And that's when Kakashi notices 2 people transformed into kunai in Kushina's weapon pouch. He tells Kushina to throw the bag away and then shouts for whoever is hiding to come out. That's when the 2 people undo the transformation jutsu, and it turns out to be Naruto and Sasuke. Naruto really wanted to go because his mother is a jinchūriki, and the Akatsuki are after jinchūriki, so he wants to kick the Akatsuki's butt and protect his mother. Meanwhile, Sasuke came along because in this timeline, he and Naruto are very close, and he couldn't just leave his best friend to go alone. Obviously, both of the young ninja get chewed out by their parents for putting themselves in such a dangerous situation, but before they can go on, they hear the sounds of battle coming from multiple ends of Omegakure. It seems the battles have begun. The Leaf's forces are running late. Kushina grunts in frustration and quickly thinks things over. The enemy is aware of their presence. No point in trying to send the kids away now. They'd just be exposed out there in the open, with no one to protect them. Easy targets to take hostage for the Akatsuki if they ever get found. And from what the recon team gathered during their last visit to the Rain, the enemy definitely has sensory jutsu. The kids would be found easily. And so the group takes them with them to better protect them and heads to the Rain. Several miles out from the village, the Leaf team runs into 6 figures with orange hair and Rinnegan eyes. Jiraiya instantly recognizes one of them as Yahiko and starts asking questions. Meanwhile, Inoki battles Deidara in the sky on the other end of the Rain Village. At the same time, Kakuzu is occupying Inoki's assistants, Chiyo and Samanbu, down on the ground. Large-scale jutsu clashes and fights between Chiyo's puppets and Kakuzu's masks, as well as Deidara's explosions and Inoki's particle style in the sky, make for an amazing spectacle. At the same time, near Kushina's group, the Raikage and his team run into Nagato's real body. The strategy of the Akatsuki is pretty simple here. Nagato is not willing to abandon the Rain Village, and he knows he's strong enough to take down anyone from the 5 great nations, so he evacuated all of the Hidden Rain citizens to the middle of Omegakure and stationed all of his Akatsuki members on the outskirts of the village. Their task is to simply stall and hold out against the allied shinobi forces as Nagato goes around destroying each of the attacking groups one by one. Each Akatsuki member by themselves is equivalent of 1,000 shinobi, and they're all capable of throwing down with Kages, so this task is not unreasonable to ask of them. And so, Nagato engages the Hidden Clouds team, and while they are very strong, Nagato is not only stronger, but he's also the perfect counter to their Chakra Cloak based fighting styles, so he quickly gets the upper hand. That's when Yugito, being one of the most cunning and analytical members of the team, remembers what Jiraiya spoke about Nagato. How he would never leave his village in peril. And this man right in front of them matches the description Jiraiya gave on Nagato. Rinnegan eyes, red hair, it all matches up. This is the leader of the Akatsuki, and he loves his village. And Yugito takes advantage of that by transforming into her full-tailed beast state and firing a Bijou bomb at the Rain Village, which is only a couple kilometers away. Nagato quickly realizes what's going on and he flies in front of the Bijou bomb, grabs it with his hands and starts absorbing it. That's when B also transforms and fires another Bijou bomb at Nagato's back. Nagato grows an extra pair of arms on his back, catches and starts absorbing this Bijou bomb too. But then Yugito and B both charge up another Bijou Dama and fire it at their original bombs. The 4 balls of chakra collide and all explode, with Nagato caught right in the epicenter of this huge 4 Bijou bomb explosion. While this battle is going on, Kushina and her group are fighting the 6 Paths of Pain after Tendo gave some very vague responses to Jiraiya's questions. And while the paths are very strong here, stronger than in the original series due to being controlled by healthy Nagato, the Uzumaki's attention here is very divided because he's focusing on his own battle as well. Not to mention that Pain is up against Kushina, Perfect Sage Mode Jiraiya, Fugaku who has the Susanoo, Guy who has the 8 Gates, Kakashi who has decent control over Kamui, and Itachi who has his freshly awakened Mangekyo. This group is stacked, and they quickly make work of the Paths of Pain, with Tendo being the last one standing. Suddenly, a huge explosion goes off in the distance and Tendo collapses to the water beneath his feet. The group looks over and sees 4 gigantic Bijou bomb explosions in the distance. They shudder to imagine what happened to whoever was caught in that. Meanwhile, Kakuzu and Deidara are getting pushed back, but they're holding on. When 2 of Kakuzu's hearts go down, he summons the remaining 2 into his body and undergoes a transformation, before hopping on a clay bird together with Deidara and forming a formidable tag team. The fast and mobile Deidara with his explosives, getting backup and protection from Kakuzu's high-scale long-range jutsu. Even Inoki finds himself struggling to get close enough to use particle style without getting burned to a crisp. The last battlefield near Amegakure opens up with Konan floating before the forces of the Hidden Mist village. Yagura, a man with bandages all over his face, and a couple Anbu. Konan quickly tells the bandage man to drop the act. She knows the 4th Mizukage is under Obito's control. Yagura was even secretly part of the Akatsuki for a little bit, so Konan can easily deduce that the bandage man is Madara in disguise. Obito chuckles and takes the bandages off before pulling out his orange mask and putting it on. Konan knows she can't fight Madara, especially when he has the 4th Mizukage as support, so she quickly bombs the battlefield and flies higher into the sky to start heading toward Nagato to inform him of Madara. Unfortunately, Obito is not the type to let someone escape from him so easily. He quickly jumps into the air and fires off a giant bomb blast dance jutsu at Konan, who's forced to turn around and defend herself. In that time, Yagura comes up below her and starts using various water jutsu to block her path toward Nagato, creating multiple huge water walls. As Konan tries to fly over them, Obito suddenly appears on top of one of them and grabs her by the neck. Unfortunately for the kunoichi, the speed of Madara Uchiha is just too much for her to handle. Obito smiles under his mask and declares that he will not let Konan's death be in vain, and vows to put it to good use before snapping her neck. At the same time, the smoke and mist clouds brought up by the huge Bijou bomb explosion slowly dissipate, revealing the results of the hidden cloud's efforts. Nagato stands in the middle of the lake, panting heavily and with his clothes singed, but otherwise he's completely fine. He managed to defend himself with a massive Shinra Tensei just in time and deflected most of the explosion. A, B, Yugito, and Darui look at the Uzumaki completely stunned. If that didn't get him, then what will? Kushina's group soon runs up to the cloud's team to check up on them after that massive explosion, and upon spotting Nagato, Jiraiya begins asking questions. That's when a dark spiral appears between Nagato and the allied shinobi. Everyone watches as the dreaded masked man appears before them, with Conan's lifeless body by his side. Everyone's eyes widen. Everyone knows of this guy's existence. But the most prominent reactions are from Kushina and Nagato. Both of the Uzumaki can't believe what they are seeing. For Kushina, there's no mistaking it. This is the man who murdered her husband, who tried to kill her and her son. She's about to explode into a rage, but something stops her. Something cold radiating from Nagato, who stares blankly at Konan. Obito notices and chuckles before throwing her body over to Nagato's feet. The Uzumaki quickly but gently grabs his oldest friend and holds her in his arms, checking for a pulse. There is none. He tries to summon the King of Hell to heal her, but he knows that it's already too late. Jiraiya also runs up to them, trying to check up on his former student, but in the blink of an eye he's sent flying beyond the horizon by Nagato. Once the King of Hell has done its best to help Konan, Nagato's last hopes of his friend being alive are shattered. Moving slowly, he summons the Animal Path's chameleon and places Konan's body into its mouth before desummoning it. Then, he slowly turns to Madara. His eyes are dead, and Obito revels in that. This is all going perfectly. Now he'll just become intangible and wait for his chance to escape while Nagato takes his fury out on the allied forces. Everyone freezes for a moment as a cold chakra starts radiating from the Uzumaki. Suddenly, before anyone can even blink, Nagato's fist crashes into Obito's face so hard that it shatters his mask and sends him flying for miles. Before the Uchiha even knows what hit him, a hand grabs him from behind and a giant laser beam is shot straight through his chest. The Uchiha coughs up blood as he finally activates Kamui just in time to see a giant saw pass straight through his neck. Obito falls to his knees, clutching at the hole in his chest. How? How was Nagato able to move so fast? Did the despair he feels really boost his speed that much? Before he can think anymore, Nagato screams out in anguish as he fires a huge laser at Madara. Obito once again phases through it, but what now? He can't deactivate his ability for a second or he will die instantly. Not to mention the giant hole in his chest. He needs to get out of here now or he'll bleed out. Thankfully, there's still a perfect distraction he can use. Right as Nagato is about to fire another laser, a staff emerges from the water right beneath Obito and forms a giant water mirror. As Nagato fires his laser, the same exact laser shoots out of the mirror as well. The two attacks collide, resulting in a giant explosion that blows Nagato away just for a second, which is all the time Obito needs to quickly suck himself into Kamui, leaving his puppet Yagura to take the punishment for him. That's when the Leaf and Cloud Shinobi finally catch up to Nagato. Jiraiya pleads with him to listen, but the Uzumaki isn't having any of it. He quickly shatters Yagura's staff before sending him flying with a massive Shinra Tensei. He then turns his eyes toward the allied shinobi and fires a giant laser cannon at them. Thankfully, when the masked man disappeared, Nagato's rage diminished a little, since his main target is now gone. This means Kushina is able to react just in time and shoot several chains out of her palms that quickly form a barrier in front of the whole group and block the laser. A giant fight ensues between the strongest shinobi unit of the modern era and the second coming of the Sage of Six Paths. But from the start, the Cloud and the Leaf find themselves greatly outmatched. Nagato is at his prime. He is used to his body now, and he doesn't have to divide his attention between several bodies. He decimates the Raikage in close quarters. He shatters Fugaku Susanoo with a single Shinra Tensei. He dismantles Yugito and B's Bijou transformations. He repels a Hirodora from Guy and blows him up with several missiles, leaving the Jonin severely injured. He absorbs a massive Rasengan from Jiraiya before stabbing his teacher with a Rinnegan rod, even with his perfect Sage mode active. He easily incinerates C and blows Darui's arm off. Within moments, most of the allied shinobi unit is wiped out, with multiple members either killed or severely injured. This is the full, unrestricted power of the Rinnegan. The last ones standing are Kushina, with Itachi and Kakashi by her sides and Naruto and Sasuke behind them. All of the shinobi are panting heavily. This guy's not just strong, he's on a completely different level. Jiraiya tries to stand up and help them, but finds himself unable to move due to the Rinnegan chakra coursing through him. He begs for Nagato to stop, but the man does not respond. He simply stares blankly at the group as he walks toward them. Sasuke and Naruto are terrified. Their mother, brother, and Kakashi are the only ones standing between them and Nagato. And if they fall, they're next. Sasuke grips a kunai in his hand, but Itachi tells him to not be foolish. They should run, right now. Kakashi looks over at the two kids, his students, both terrified. He can't fail them, and he won't. The copy ninja takes a deep breath and looks up at Nagato before activating his Mangekyo. He whispers to Kushina and Itachi to do their best to somehow restrain the enemy just for a second. He'll take his head off with Kamui the instant Nagato is immobilized. The other two nod and spring into action. Itachi acts as a diversion while Kushina shoots chains all over the battlefield and surrounds Nagato. The Rinnegan wielder easily sees through their plan and quickly jumps into the air, but Kushina has expected him to do so, and the moment he's above the chains, they shoot up at him. But again, Nagato is prepared. He simply raises his hand and fires off a massive Shuna Tensei that not only knocks the chains away, but also crashes into the water, creating a huge wave that knocks all of the Konoha shinobi away. Naruto and Sasuke scream as they're separated from the grown-ups. Kakashi looks up from the ground. Nagato is floating in the sky and looking down at him. He needs to act. The copy ninja takes the risk of Nagato potentially dodging his attack and activates Kamui. The moment he does, he feels an intense pressure coming from the Rinnegan user, and before he knows it, he is knocked deep into the water by an invisible force. Another Shinra Tensei. He feels several of his ribs break. Meanwhile, Kushina tells Itachi to grab Naruto and Sasuke and get the hell out of here. Itachi nods and starts running toward the kids while Kushina makes her stand against Nagato, who descends from the sky and attacks. The battle is brief, but incredibly fierce as the two Uzumaki utilize their arsenals. Kushina uses various sealing jutsu to negate Nagato's attacks, but the man is simply too fast and powerful. Soon, the Hokage is unable to keep up. She puts up a valiant fight, but in the end, Nagato pierces her chest with a giant saw blade. He tells Kushina that she is a valuable jinchūriki, so he will not kill her. But this will take some time to heal and occupy her while he deals with the others. The kunoichi is mortified. That's when a voice inside her head informs her that it can help. The Nine Tails can kill Nagato for her. All she needs to do is open the seal. Kushina wants to refuse, but realizes that if she does, she and her beloved son will die. Kushina makes the Nine Tails promise that it won't kill any of the Konoha shinobi, and after a bit of hesitation, the fox agrees. Kushina takes a deep breath, closes her eyes, and opens the seal. In an instant, the Kyuubi's chakra erupts from Kushina's body, taking the form of the giant fox. Bones, flesh, skin, and fur cover the massive pool of chakra. It roars in fury and with one of its tails knocks Nagato away. What follows is a spectacular clash between the full power of the Nine Tails and the second coming of the Sage of Six Paths. A clash of epic proportions. The two monsters collide, causing the entire country to shake as they do so. Nagato flies in the air, ducking and weaving past bijou bombs which explode in the sky, blackening out the sun. Nagato rains down missiles and lasers upon Kurama, who simply shrugs them off and retaliates with his own Bijou Bomb barrage. At the same time, its tails shoot toward the Rinnegan wielder, trying to crush him like a bug. The battle rages on and on. The mobile and limble Nagato avoids most blows while slowly siphoning chakra off of the Ninetales. Meanwhile, the beast continues his onslaught, attacking with its claws and teeth as well. However, the Kyuubi is slower than the man, so it's very difficult for him to hit him. Eventually, Nagato gets sick of this. He holds out the palms of his hands and giant Rinnegan chains shoot out of them. Kurama tries to dodge, but the chains are far too fast and soon the fox is bound. Nagato glares down at the creature. He's already siphoned a good portion of his chakra, and now that the Ninetales is immobilized, it won't take long to finish it off. Suddenly, the Uzumaki feels a strange sensation on the back of his head, like space is warping. He realizes that it must be Kakashi Hatake with his famous Kamui Jutsu. He quickly shoots up into the sky, just barely avoiding certain death. Just as he does, the Raikage and Guy, both somewhat recovered, charge at him from below. With his arms occupied, Nagato grows an extra set of hands and knocks the two fighters away. But before the interval for Shinra Tensei can end, Jiraiya uses his hair to grab one of Nagato's feet and fling him toward the ground, where Fugaku attempts to skewer him with a Susanoo blade. Nagato is forced to grow another pair of arms just to catch the blade and push the Uchiha away. He is once again about to fire off another Shinra Tensei, but before he can, the water around him starts to boil and several streams of water fly at him from multiple directions. It's Yagura, still following Obito's instructions to attack Nagato. In this moment, Kakashi tries to activate Kamui once again while Yugito and B fire their best long-range jutsu at the Uzumaki. Despite all their best efforts, the man manages to get a Shinra Tensei off just in time to blow everyone away. However, in the process, his concentration is broken, and the chains binding the Ninetales vanish. Kurama quickly takes advantage of this and lunges at the airborne Rinnegan wielder and grabs him with its mouth, intending to crush him. Nagato, thinking fast, grows several pairs of arms to hold the jaws of the Ninetales for a few moments while he charges up a giant laser and fires it into Kurama's throat. He then follows it up with several missiles. The explosions are deafening, and the Kyuubi screams in agony as its throat is blasted. The fox collapses into the water. His body has been greatly weakened. Kurama is now on the verge of unconsciousness. Furious about this turn of events, the Ninetales realizes that the only way for him to survive this is to retreat into his cage and heal. The fox roars out one more time before his body starts to shrink. Soon, the beast morphs back into Kushina, who has been watching everything from inside the Ninetales. In a desperate attempt to protect Kushina, Jiraiya lunges at Nagato with all he has. He clashes with his former students with multiple high-scaled jutsu, but in the end, it's simply not enough. Nagato blasts him away with another powerful Shinra Tensei, damaging his body even further. Meanwhile, Kushina pants heavily. Her body has taken heavy damage, and what's there to show for it? Nagato is still alive. In fact, he's barely even injured. The entire fight took barely a few minutes. Out of nowhere, Nagato raises one of his hands and points it away from the rain village. With horror in her eyes, Kushina notices Itachi's chakra far away in that direction. The kids must be with him as well. The kunoichi jumps at Nagato, hoping to prevent him from doing something terrible to them. But the Rinnegan wielder simply kicks her away, and before she knows it, the Uzumaki uses Bancho Tenin to quickly pull Itachi and the kids back into the battlefield. Seeing this, Jiraiya tries his best to get up and continue fighting, but he just can't. His chakra is almost at zero. If he uses any more jutsu, he'll die. And his body is nearly completely paralyzed, with many broken bones. He can't move. Meanwhile, Itachi is horrified. They ran so far, and yet, this man was able to suck them back in an instant. Itachi quickly stands up and puts himself between Nagato and the kids. The Uzumaki simply looks at him for a moment before raising his arm and sending Itachi flying to the side, breaking several of his bones in the process. Naruto and Sasuke look at Nagato in horror. All of the strongest people they know. Kushina, the strongest kunoichi ever. Jiraiya, the Sannin. Itachi and Fugaku of the famed Uchiha clan. Kakashi, the copy ninja. The Raikage, B and Yugito, two perfect jinchūriki. Guy, the greatest taijutsu master in history. And this man is treating them all like ragdolls. Kushina slowly, painfully crawls toward her son. She needs to get to him. She needs to protect him. Itachi barely pulls himself out from under the water's surface and tries to run toward his little brother. But one of the joints in his legs is broken, and he quickly falls to his knees. Still, he crawls toward the kids. Nagato slowly walks up to them. Jiraiya starts focusing all of his remaining chakra for one last gambit. Meanwhile, Naruto is the first to act. He roars as he charges a Rasengan in his hand and lunges at the enemy. The man easily blocks it, and with one hand holds the struggling Naruto dangling in the air. Sasuke jumps at him from the side and swings a kunai at his neck. Nagato simply grabs the kid's wrist and throws him away before kicking Naruto in the gut so hard that the kid coughs up blood and is sent swirling through the air. He crashes into the water a few meters away, unconscious. Kushina screams out in agony, unable to do anything to help her son. Nagato then walks up to Sasuke, producing a Rinnegan rod from the palm of his hand. He raises it in front of Sasuke's chest. The young Uchiha tries to fire a fire-style jutsu at Nagato's face, but he easily repels it with no effort at all. Sasuke's eyes widen in fear. This man is not human. He is a monster, and there's nothing he can do. He can't win, he can't save his brother or his friend. He can't even save himself. With that thought, Sasuke awakens his Sharingan for the very first time in his life. Until now, he's lived peacefully and hadn't had the chance to awaken this dark power. But even with this development, nothing changes. He still can't do a thing. Nagato is about to drive a Rinnegan rod right into Sasuke's chest, when a voice suddenly yells at him to stop. One of Itachi's eyes starts bleeding, as the intense situation awakens something inside of him. His first Mangekyo ability, Amaterasu. Nagato's body catches on fire. Black flames surround him and start consuming his clothes and skin. The surprise and pain from this attack make the Uzumaki stumble away from Sasuke, but within moments, the man realizes how to counter this. He activates Shina Tensei and repels the flames, pushing them off of his body. All the Amaterasu is able to accomplish are a few burn marks. Nagato turns to Itachi, and then back to Sasuke. He starts walking toward him again, but before he reaches the kid, a figure lands in between Sasuke and Nagato. It's Fugaku, with his arms outstretched. He yells for Sasuke and Itachi to run. Nagato is about to finish Fugaku off for good, but suddenly, something perks up in his mind. This is a scene he's seen before, only from a different perspective. Nagato's mind flashes back to the day his parents died protecting him from Konoha shinobi. And here he is, taking the role of those shinobi as a father tries desperately to protect his children. Nagato hesitates. And then, the sound of an explosion in the distance reaches his ears. He looks at the horizon and sees several giant jutsu going off. Kakuzu and Deidara are still fighting against the Tsuchikage, Kazekage, and their aides. They're probably on the back foot. While Nagato is thinking, Jiraiya acts. As this whole situation was unfolding, even while nearly paralyzed and out of chakra, the Sannin summoned several small toads. Not just regular toads either. The same ones he used to get into the rain village before. Barrier toads, with giant spaces in their stomachs. the same ones used in the original story to trap the animal path. Those toads scattered throughout the battlefield while Nagato was hesitating. Now they're ready to act. Jiraiya weaves a hand sign and many tongues shoot out from under the water's surface. They grab all of the injured shinobi and quickly pull them underwater, into their stomachs. Nagato looks down and realizes what's going on, but before he can do anything, Jiraiya weaves another hand sign, and all the toads vanish into puffs of smoke. Reverse summoning jutsu, back to Mount Miyaboku. All of Jiraiya's loved ones are safe for now. He breathes a sigh of relief. That's when Nagato steps toward him, asking the Sannin why he didn't summon a toad for himself as well. To which he explains that he did not have enough chakra left for any more toads. He used up everything he had to protect his loved ones and comrades. His chakra is now at 0. He is about to die. Even if he could have summoned another toad, there would have been no use, as he would have died in Mount Miyaboku just moments after being summoned there. Jiraiya looks up at Nagato. There's so much he'd like to ask him. There's so much he'd like to say. But there's no time. The Sannin's body has already started shutting down. He thinks back to his greatest failure. He was unable to save Nagato, Konan, and Yahiko from going down this dark path. With that thought, Jiraiya simply vows to look over Yahiko and Konan in the afterlife. And with that, the legendary Sannin Jiraiya breathes his last. Nagato kneels down and closes the man's eyes. Then the Rinnegan wielder raises his head and looks up at the sky. He doesn't want to believe this. All his life, he's been striving for a better world. A world free of hatred and suffering. And yet, today was full of those things. The Uzumaki summons the chameleon again and gently places Jiraiya's body inside of its mouth, next to Konan. He then desummons the animal, and flies over to where Kakuzu and Deidara are fighting. He makes short work of Inoki and Chiyo along with their assistants. However, he doesn't finish them off. Instead, Nagato tells them to get lost and never come back to the Rain Village. There has been enough suffering for one day already. He won't kill them for now. And that is going to be it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this sort of unusual storytelling approach. I did my best to make the story as engaging as possible without the visuals, so I hope it was decent, I hope it was enjoyable at least, and I'll probably continue this series as a purely audio format from now on. So yeah, that's pretty much it. With nothing else to say, I wish you a good rest of the day. Goodbye.